Would you risk everything to save a helpless creature from deadly predators? Daniel did, but what happened next is beyond belief. Was it courage, instinct, or something more? Watch this unforgettable rescue and share your thoughts below. The sun rose slowly over the vast expanse of the Zambezi Wildlife Reserve, casting golden light over the endless savanna. The morning air was thick with the scent of dry grass and the distant calls of animals stirring from the night. Daniel Cole, a seasoned ranger with a weathered face and eyes that carried the weight of countless rescues, stood by his old 4x4, sipping stale coffee. He wasn't here for the sunrise. He was on edge. Reports had come in about a distressed elephant herd scene near the riverbed. Among them, a calf had been spotted lagging behind, injured and vulnerable. Daniel had seen this scenario before, and it rarely ended well. Lions patrolled this region, and a lone, injured baby was an easy target. His radio crackled to life. Daniel got a visual. The herds moved on, but the calf's still there. Looks bad. Daniel's heart tightened. He tossed his coffee, grabbed his gear, and jumped into the truck. "Hold on, little one. I'm coming." The dirt road twisted through acacia trees and dry shrubs, dust rising behind Daniel's truck, a faint trail marking his path. As he neared the riverbed, the air grew heavier, and his stomach tightened with a familiar dread. Flies buzzed in the air, a sign of injury or worse, their relentless hum serving as a grim soundtrack to the scene. He scanned the barren landscape, eyes squinting against the glare of the midday sun. He spotted the calf, a small, trembling figure collapsed beneath a withered bush, its silhouette stark against the parched earth. Its ears flapped weakly, a desperate attempt to cool itself, and its trunk curled inward, a telltale sign of distress. Its mother and the herd were long gone, likely forced to move on in search of water, a harsh necessity in this unforgiving terrain. The calf, too weak to keep up, had been left behind, a heartbreaking victim of the drought. Daniel parked a short distance away, his movements careful and deliberate, and slowly approached. He didn't want to startle the poor creature, its vulnerability hanging heavy in the still air. As he drew closer, the truth hit him. A gruesome gash ran along its hind leg, perhaps from a thorn bush or a predator's claw, a raw, bleeding wound buzzing with flies. The calf panted, its eyes half closed with exhaustion, its tiny body trembling from the effort. "Hey there, buddy," Daniel murmured softly, crouching low, his voice a gentle reassurance in the desolate silence. "We're going to help you." He reached for his radio to call for backup, to summon the team and the veterinary aid the calf so desperately needed. But a low, raspy growl cut through the air, a chilling sound that froze him in place. Ice flooded his veins, a wave of fear crashing over him. Slowly, he turned, heart hammering against his ribs, and saw them. A pride of lions emerged from the tall grass, their eyes locked onto the helpless calf, predatory gazes unwavering. The air crackled with tension, the unspoken promise of a deadly showdown. Daniel's mind raced. 5 lions, 1 mature male, a large female, and 3 lean, younger hunters. They weren't curious, they were hungry. His hand hovered over the flare gun, strapped to his belt. He could try to scare them off, but flares were a gamble. Sometimes they worked. Sometimes they only made the predators angrier. The lions advanced, muscles rippling beneath their tawny coats. The young elephant let out a pitiful trumpet, trembling, struggling to stand. Daniel acted on instinct. He stepped between the calf and the lions, spreading his arms wide. "Back off," he shouted. The lions hesitated, but only for a moment. The female growled, moving forward in slow, predatory steps. Daniel knew he couldn't win this fight, but he could buy time. He fired the flare gun. It screamed into the sky, exploding into a burst of red light. The lions flinched, startled by the flash and sound. The younger ones backed away, but the female held her ground, tail flicking. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He knew this wasn't over. The female lion lunged, a swift, predatory movement that sent a jolt of fear through Daniel. He barely dodged, feeling the air rush past him. the close call a stark reminder of the danger he faced. He grabbed a fallen branch, its rough bark digging into his palm, and swung wildly, smacking the ground with a sharp crack, the sound echoing through the stillness. The lion growled, a low, menacing rumble, circling him with a calculated grace. "Come on then," he yelled, voice raw with adrenaline, a desperate attempt to assert dominance. "You want me? Let's go." The lion feinted, testing him, its movements fluid and precise. His muscles screamed from the tension, every fiber strained, but he didn't dare falter, knowing that any sign of weakness could be his undoing. The calf behind him whimpered again, a small, pitiful sound, trying desperately to rise, its struggle a heart-wrenching reminder of its vulnerability. Daniel stole a glance back, his heart sinking. If the calf didn't move soon, if it couldn't find the strength to stand, they were both done for, trapped between the predator and the prey. He spotted the truck, too far, a distant beacon of hope that seemed impossibly out of reach. He couldn't run, not with the lion this close, its eyes fixed on him with an unwavering intensity. The big male lion moved in now, slower but more deliberate, its powerful frame radiating an aura of deadly calm. His amber eyes locked with Daniel's, a silent challenge that sent a shiver down his spine. The radio crackled, a faint sound amidst the tension. "Daniel, we're almost there. Hold on." "Not fast enough," Daniel muttered, his throat dry, his voice barely a whisper. The lion growled again, low and thunderous, a primal sound that vibrated through the air. Daniel's eyes darted to the side, spotting a long, sturdy branch near his feet, a potential weapon in this life-or-death struggle. He grabbed it and stood his ground, wielding it like a staff, his grip tight and determined. "Come on," he shouted, swiping the stick at the lions, a desperate attempt to create space. He jabbed it forward, forcing the female back a step, a momentary reprieve. He swung hard, smacking the ground again with a loud crack that echoed through the surrounding scrub, a defiant sound against the encroaching silence. The lion lunged, a blur of muscle and teeth, and Daniel dove to the side, narrowly avoiding being torn apart. His side slammed into the ground, the impact jarring, but he forced himself up, adrenaline overriding the pain. He gripped the stick tighter, his knuckles white, swinging it with all his strength, a desperate defense against the relentless predators. He landed a solid hit against the male lion's flank, the thud echoing in the tense silence. The lion roared in frustration, a guttural sound of rage, backing off slightly, its eyes blazing with fury. Panting, Daniel stumbled toward the calf, his legs trembling, his body aching. He dropped to one knee, gently nudging it, his voice soft and urgent. "Come on, buddy. We have to move." The calf blinked at him weakly, its large eyes filled with exhaustion, its small body trembling. The lions closed in again, their movements deliberate and menacing, their hunger palpable. Daniel pushed himself to his feet, spreading his arms wide once more, a desperate attempt to appear larger, his voice raw and strained. "Back off." The lions hesitated, their predatory instincts warring with caution. The male growled low and dangerous, a rumbling threat that vibrated through the air. A blaring horn shattered the standoff, a sudden, jarring sound that cut through the tension. A ranger truck roared into view, headlights blazing, its powerful engine a welcome roar of salvation. The lions scattered, their predatory gaze shifting, retreating into the brush, their shadows disappearing into the thick undergrowth. Relief crashed over Daniel, so hard his knees nearly gave out, the wave of emotion overwhelming, a mixture of exhaustion and gratitude. He sank to the ground, his body trembling, his breath ragged, the ordeal finally over. Daniel knelt by the calf, placing a hand on its head. "You're safe now." Backup arrived, tranquilizing the calf for safe transport. The team worked quickly, patching its wound and loading it gently onto a stretcher. "Hell of a stunt you pulled," one of the rangers said, clapping Daniel on the back. "Could have gotten yourself killed." Daniel chuckled, though his voice shook. Yeah, but I couldn't let him die alone. Later, as the sun set over the reserve, Daniel stood by the recovery pen, watching the calf rest. Its breathing was steady now, its wound cleaned and dressed. The calf lifted its head, locking eyes with him for a moment. Then, slowly, it reached out with its trunk, brushing against his hand. Daniel smiled, his throat tightening. Yeah, you're gonna be okay, buddy. The reserve was quiet now, peaceful. Another life saved. Another day survived. But Daniel knew he'd carry this moment with him forever. The day he stood against the wild. Not for glory, but for the life of one small, helpless soul. Sometimes, bravery isn't about facing danger. It's about standing your ground when no one else will. Daniel risked everything to protect a life that couldn't protect itself. And in the end, his courage was met with gratitude from the most unexpected place. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more powerful tales of wildlife courage and compassion. Together, let's keep these stories alive.